Azariah permits. Three things that Elazar ben Azariah permits and the sages prohibit. One, cows may go out with a strap between its horns, and one may curry an animal on Yom Tov, and one may grind pepper in its mill. Rabbi Yehuda says one may not curry an animal on Yom Tov because it makes a wound, but one may comb. But the comments say one may neither curry nor comb. Pepper mills are susceptible to cleanliness on account of three kinds of utensils because of being a utensil which has a receptacle and a metal utensil and being a utensil made used for sifting. A child's cart is susceptible to Midrash uncleanness and may be carried on the Sabbath, but may not be dragged over except over articles. Rabbi Yehuda says no object may be dragged except for the cart because it presses. Okay.
Perek Gimel. Ein tzadin dagim min habivarin b'Yom Tov. So finally, we have returned to the subject of Yom Tov. Okay. Now, while you are allowed to shecht an animal, and you're allowed to, and you would therefore logically be allowed to kill a fish on Yom Tov in order to eat it on Yom Tov. Nonetheless, the Mishnah tells us that bivarin is vivarium, and I think that's actually the origin of the word in Hebrew. If you look at, you could actually see it in the vivarium, right?
Right.
Um, and it probably is it probably is a Latin word, or maybe a Greek word. I'm not sure which one it is. I think vivo is from Latin actually. Um,
Mhm.
but we know that there are lots of Greek
Right.
influences on the Hebrew of the Mishnah.
Right.
Wow. Okay, I've got a skylight above me, and can you hear me over the rain, or can you even hear the
Yeah,
rain?
I don't even hear the rain.
You don't even hear it. Okay, so the filter works well because because it's really loud. The rain falling on the glass over my head
Is it
right
a
now.
real skylight or this is one of your chat things?
I did not create this one, no. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So now a vivarium is like basically a big fish pond. It's a fish
Mhm.
pond where you want to go in, stick a net in, grab a fish, and take it out. And we say that that is not allowed on Yom Tov. Why is this not allowed on Yom Tov? Um, because first of all, one statement, but Rashi says that because it was possible to catch them before Yom Tov, and
Mhm.
therefore you should have caught it yesterday, but not today. Although you could argue that I would argue with Rashi that fresh caught fish is much nicer than fish that was caught yesterday. Okay. Um, and the others who say that it's because it looks like harvesting. Now, when it comes to the halachas of what can be done to prepare food, what malachas are permitted for ochel nefesh, the Chazal were koveya that it stops after grinding from lisha, right?
Okay.
That while you can take flour and you can start adding water and baking your bread and everything on your own tip, the grinding we said is prohibited. That
Right.
that, that comes because that comes from before the lisha. What's the svara for this? So even harvesting is not allowed. So the svara for this is that they learned it out from the pasuk that ushmartem es hamatzos. Okay,
Mhm.
that's from the Shmiras Matzahs. And what's the point where Shmira is actually required? Now we have a Chumrah to be Shomer from the time of Ketzira, but the actual halacha of Shmira for Matzahs um, is from the time of adding the water.
Mhm.
Okay,
All right.
so that it doesn't become chametz. But before that, so that's actually all of all regular matzahs that aren't called shmura matzahs are actually shmura matzahs in the sense that they were guarded from the time of lisha.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. And therefore any malacha, so they just learned it out from this that anything that's before that is not permitted on Yom Tov. Okay, but what comes after that is okay. Also potentially this may be because that they um and it seems that this is a derabanan because they were introducing svaras as to why it is. They said that the reason why they drew the line over here is because is also because of the fact that that the malachas that come before that, Ketzira and dish and all the threshing and the grinding and all that, those are things that are usually done in bulk, right? You harvest your whole field. You don't just
Right.
harvest a few
Right.
stalks to make a bit of bread. Um, and even the grinding is done with, like, you have a big grinder, you put all your grain in, and you grind out. Okay, so these are things that Chazal didn't want people to get involved with on Yom Tov, because these are malachas that we're doing. Um, it's not clear to me 100% if this is a din drabanan or a din d'oraisa. Um, but nonetheless, the point being that that's where we draw the line. Okay, and now applying this now to fish, um,
Mhm.
taking the fish out of the water could be seen as similar to katsira, to
Right.
harvesting, and
Right.
therefore they said it was aser. Okay, um, so that's a different opinion as to why not to pull the fish out of the vivarium. ונוסנים לפני, okay, ואין נוסנים לפניהם מזונות. And furthermore, you're not allowed to feed the fish in the vivarium, because they're not dependent on you, and it's not like you're trying, and it looks like you're trying to entice them to the surface to try and catch them. Uh,
Right. Right. Yeah,
okay.
fish can go on their own. They're
Fish are
fine.
very independent. I can vouch for that, for the
Me
fact that
too.
I can forget to feed my fish for several days in a row, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, I know.
Which actually, like, I read this in preparation. I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't actually be feeding my fish on Shabbos. I mean, I like to feed them because I
Nice to
like to
watch
see them
them.
come to the surface, and but it may be an issue. Maybe.
It works on a battery. We have an automatic feeder, so it goes 24/7. It just automatically, it's on the timer, and it just lets out the food.
There we go.
So,
Okay. אבל צדין חיה ועוף מן הביברים ונוסדין לפני מזונס. However, um, you can you can hunt um, you can hunt wild animals, right? Chayav off.
mhm.
That is deer and birds uh, that are also being kept in a vivarium of some sort of animal enclosure. A vivarium is just a very general catch-all term where you keep live animals. Okay, so you are allowed to try to catch these creatures, v'nosnin lifnei mazonos, and therefore you're also allowed to feed them, because once you're allowed to chef them, you're allowed to feed them, which will entice them
Right.
to come closer. Um, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, he comes and clarifies, lo kol habivarim shavin. It says not, no, there are vivariums and the vivariums. You can't just we can't just assume that everything is okay. We got here's a general rule. Ze haklal. Kol ha-mechusar tzida asur. If it just lacks, if it needs to be caught still, if you have to go running around to try and catch it, that is asur. It's going to be a
Right.
lot of effort if the animal can run away, and you're going to have to find some way of going to trap it. But if you can just walk in and it doesn't have much space to run away, and all you need to do is walk up to the thing and grab it, that's okay, and that you're allowed to grab and sheft on Yom Tov.
That's it. Rabbi Gamil says in the commentary that this only refers to game fowl,
Yes, that's
but
right.
never if you catch fish on Yom Tov. It's more balanced because they're hidden from view, and there's an effort to have to get them. So to
Right.
really to go
Yeah,
after
very good,
them.
very good. It's more effort always to catch the fish, and although it may be that Rabban Shimon Gamliel, there's I think there is another opinion that Rabban Shimon Gamliel is referring to everything, is referring to the fish as well. That if you have a small fish tank where the fish don't have much room to move, and all you need to do is basically reach in with a net and grab one out.
He
Um,
says not even in small ponds because they're hidden from view.
Right. So that's the one opinion, but there's another view of it if it is so small that you can catch them easily, then it would be okay. So I'm not pass getting on this one.
Also
Uh,
on the reverse. the idea of my catching a fish and then cooking and eating it, I'm not so happy with that. I like to go to the fish store and get the fish that's done.
Oh, that's something that my wife and I have done several times. Is like gone fishing for and caught fresh fish and gutted it
Okay,
and cooked it ourselves.
not, not for me. I would not be a
Yeah.
good Kohen. Okay.
Okay, Mishna base. Metzudas chayav of v'dagim she'asan me'erev Yom Tov. Okay, traps that were laid out for birds and wild animals before Yom Tov. Uh, and now he comes on Yom Tov and says, "Oh, I've caught an animal." Lo yitol mehen b'Yom Tov elim ken yodea shenitzodo me'erev Yom Tov. He's only allowed to take these animals if he knows that they had already been trapped
Before.
on Erev Yom Tov. Maaseh benochri echad. But there's a contradictory story over here with a certain non-Jew, shehevi dagim leRabban Gamliel. V'amar mutar. So basically, this non-Jew came and said, "Hey, I caught these fish yesterday. Would you like to buy them? You can pay me after Yom Tov, or whatever." He wanted to give them as a gift, even. V'amar. So Rabban Gamliel said to his Talmidim, Mutar in hand, Ma'ikra din, these are actually mutar, even though I don't, you can't trust the non-Jew to say that it was caught yesterday. Non-Jews can never give testimony like that unless it's like a Messiah lefi tumo, where he's just talking innocently and he just kind of lets it slip somehow in the course of conversation that this happened yesterday. Um, right, but he says nonetheless, even if we don't know it was caught yesterday, they're mutar.
This reminds me of the Mishnah in Be'ah when they talk about when the egg is you leave for shul and the egg is there's no egg there. You come back and the egg was there. So was it base mushes? But what's the story of that? So you really can't
Yeah,
that's the
well, that's the
problem.
doubt, right? Right, similar case. Okay. Ela she'ein ritzoni lekabel himenu. But he wanted to be machmir on himself. He said, uh, make ready and it's fine. And if any of you want to take the fish, it's cool. But for me, I just don't. I want to be machmir on myself. Okay. Uh, by the way, there's another opinion that they mention in the commentary in the Gemara that Rabban Gamliel actually had a personal thing with this non-Jew and he didn't want to accept it from him. He didn't like him.
Oh.
Nonetheless, the halacha is not like Rabban Gamliel over here. And if there's any doubt, then you cannot take the animal.
Says
Okay,
here also, we are only permitted to handle but not eat the fish. And then the commentary says, others explain, according
yeah,
to one opinion of the Gemara, that Ibrahim Gamil only permitted to handle but not to eat the fish.
that's
And
interesting.
this,
I didn't see that in the commentary. Okay,
the last couple of sentences, yeah.
okay,
But the halakha is not, yeah, the halakha
okay.
is not like that. All right.
Mishnah Gimel, behema mesukenes. Okay, you have the farm. Here's our situation. Farmer Ted is standing in his field, and he looks out at the cows, and he sees one of the cows keels over, and he goes and this is on a Yom Tov, and he sees late Yom Tov afternoon, he sees that this cow is keeled over, and he reckons this cow is going to die. No, it's not a treifa. It wasn't. There's nothing that would otherwise forbid it. So what happened? Cow had a heart attack. I don't know what happened. But he has a shaila. If he lets this cow die, it's going to become an avela and it's going to be dog food.
Man.
So he wants to quickly shecht it. But he's already had his Yom Tov Suda. He's full. He's not going to have time to eat. But can he shech this animal on Yom Tov, even though he's barely going to have any time to eat any of it, and doesn't have any inclination to eat it? Um, and it's a big financial loss, and that's really the question that we have over here. Okay, lo yishchot ela im kain yesh shehus bayom le'echol mimena kezayis tzali. So says the Tanna Kama, um, you cannot shecht it unless you will have time between now and the end of Yom Tov to cut a kazayas of meat out of it and roast it over a fire. Now, why roast it over a fire? Because roasting is much quicker than cooking, and also you don't have to do all the salting and stuff because the fire does the draining of the blood and everything. And if he will have time, even if he's not actually going to, if he will have time before the end of Yom Tov if he would have time to take a kazayas of meat and roast it over a fire, then it's fine. And we permit him to do this because of the financial loss involved.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rabbi Akiva goes even further. He says, "Afilu kazayis chai mi beitza v'chasa." Even taking a kazayis of raw meat to eat kazayis of raw meat from the Beitza shchita. Why? Because there's actually a crazy din in kashrus that what's aser from the meat. Why do you have to salt it and whatever? Is because once blood has moved from within the flesh, it has to it then it becomes aser. But if it stays inside the flesh of the animal and it hasn't moved, that's actually mutar, and therefore if you cut a piece of raw meat out of an animal without squeezing it, without moving the blood, you would be allowed to eat that raw. Okay, that's a halacha that is almost never asked the shaila about. But
I'm sure you
technically,
can't imagine why.
technically, if you're into that kind of stuff, and I think there are some people who are into like eating absolutely raw meat, that would technically be permitted. And therefore, Rabbi Akiva says that in this case of Farmer Ted, he would actually be allowed to eat that. He would actually be allowed to shech that animal, even that close to the end of Yom Tov, that he would just be able to cut out a piece of meat and chew on it.
I know people eat raw fish, but I haven't heard of anyone eating raw meat. I mean, people
Right.
that did it.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it is a thing actually.
It's also
Um,
dangerous. It's also
right.
dangerous.
The halacha does not follow Rabbi Akiva here. It follows the Tanna Kama. Shchata b'sadeh. What happens if okay? This, by the way, is returning to your general case. If even if it's like early on Yom Tov and you shechted it for lunch, if and he caught the animal in the field and he shechted it there. So now he's got this whole big animal that's now been shechted, and he wants to carry it back home. And he say that was really dumb of you to shecht it out in the field. Um, because now if we let you carry this whole big animal, then it's a very big public thing that you're coming. If you've got this thing on a pole and whatever, so rather. Lo Yaviena b'mota b'mota. He's not allowed to carry it on a pole over two people's shoulders and carry it in. Rather, aval maybe biyado avarim avarim. He has to cut it up in place and bring it in limb by limb, so it's not such a big public thing.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, we've gone
By
a
the way,
little bit over.
people
So
eating.
let's do whatever chazaras we can before I need to go to shul.
All right, sukkah. Sure, sukkah there. Hey, hey. There were never less than 21 tikot based in the temple, and not more than 48. Each day, 21 blasts in the temple, 3 for the opening of the gates, 9 for the daily morning sacrifice, and 9 for the daily afternoon service. And during the Musaf sacrificial service, they would add another 9. Um, and on the eve of Shabbos, sixth edition would be blown, 3 to signal the people to cease working, 3 to mark the boundary between the sacred and the profane. And on Friday, within the festival, there were 48. 3 for the opening of the gates, 3 for the uppermost gate, and 3 for the lower gate, and 3 for filling the water and 3 on top of the altar. 9 for the daily morning sacrifice, 9 for the daily afternoon sacrifice, 9 for the additional sacrifice, 3 to signal the people to cease working, and to mark the boundary between the sacred and the profane. On the first Yom Tov day of the festival, there were 13 bullocks, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. There were 14 lambs left over for the 8 mishmaret, and on the first day, 6 mishmarets would bring 2 each, and the rest 1. On the second day, 5 brought 2 each, and the remaining mishmaret 1 each. On the third day, 4 would bring 2 each, and the rest 1. On the fourth day, 3 would offer 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fifth day, 2 would bring 2, and the rest 1 each. On the sixth day, would offer 2, and the rest 1 each. On the seventh day, all were equal. On the eighth, they were reverted to the casting of lots on the pilgrim festivals. And and whoever brought bullocks today shall not bring tomorrow, but they would take their turns in this situation, in this rotation. Zion. All 3 periods of the year of the Mishmar were equal to the specified festival offerings and the distribution of the showbread. On Zeret, they would say to him, here is Mata for you, and here is Chametz for you. The Mishmar, whose term was fixed and over the daily sacrifices, the vow offering and freewill offerings and remaining public offerings When the festival occurred next to the Sabbath, between the poor after it, all the Mishmarot shared equally in the distribution of the showbread. Okay.
Okay.
You have to go. You want to continue a
Now
little
carry on.
or?
Carry on. I'll tell you when
Okay,
it's
with
done.
Yoma. Bob. They brought him the parlor chamber, and which was in the holy area. They spread a linen sheet between him and the people. He washed his hands and feet, and then undressed. And the man said, first he undressed, and then he washed his hands and feet. He went down and immersed himself, and then dried himself. They brought him white vestments, he dressed, and then washed his hands and feet. In the morning, he brought up illusion linen worth 12 mana, and in the afternoon, Indian linen worth 800 zuz. These are the words of Ramea. But the comments say in the morning, he donned linen worth 18 mana, in the afternoon, linen worth 12 mana, and all were together 30 mana. These amounts came from the public treasury, but if he wishes to add to these amounts, he may do so from his own. He then came to his ox, and his ox was standing between the antechamber and the altar, his head to the south and the face to the west. The Kohen Gadol stands to the east of the ox, facing west, and he supports both his hands upon it and confesses. He would say the following: I beg of you, Hashem, I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you. I and my household. I beg of you, Hashem, forgive now the wicked acts, rebellions, and sins. I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you, and I have my household, as is written in the Torah, and you serve it. Moshe, for on the day he will return for you. And I answer after him, blessed is the name of the glorious kingship forever and ever. He
Okay.
then
No,
comes
that's
to
it.
these.
That's it. We're done. Yep.
Oh, we're done. Finished. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Shabbos.
Shabbos. Okay. Okay. Daled. We may place a cooked fish in the pit in order that it may be preserved with water and stale water in order that it cool off, and the cold water in the sun in order that it become warm. One whose garments fell into the water while traveling may continue to walk in them, and he may not fear. When he arrives at the outer court, he may spread them out in the sun, but not in front of people. One who bathes in the water of a cave or in the water of Tiberias and does dry himself with water, even 10 towels may not carry them in his hand, but 10 people may dry themselves with one towel, their faces, their hands, and their feet, and they may carry it in their hands. We may anoint and massage his stomach, but we may not neither knead nor scrape the skin. We may not go down to the dome, nor take an emetic, nor straighten an infant's limbs, nor a fracture. If one's hand or foot became dislocated, he may not massage them with cold water, but he may bathe them according to his usual manner. That if he healed, he is healed.
Okay, and let's stop there because I need to get going.
Okay, have a great day. Have
Yeah,
a
you
great
too.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos and
Thank
see you Sunday, Mitzvah Shem.
you. Okay, thank you.